Horns, hugs, and holy crap, I married a demon king. What happens when a heartbroken human accidentally summons a demon king and falls in love? Welcome to BL Realms, where fantasy meets fire and love breaks every rule. Follow the story of Leo, a stubborn, sarcastic human, and Azrath, the powerful demon king of lust and destruction, as their chaotic magical accident turns into a legendary romance. From magical mishaps, jealous flirting, and soul-bonded passion to surprise pregnancy cravings, glowing babies, and diaper disasters, this is a boys' love tale filled with humor, heat, heart, and a little hellfire. If you love BL stories with dramatic twists, emotional depth, and a whole lot of magical chaos, you've found your kingdom. Subscribe, stay magical, and welcome to the family. Chapter 1: The Summoning Mishap. Leo never thought heartbreak would lead him to accidentally summon a half-naked demon king into his cramped Brooklyn apartment. And yet, here he was, sweating in a circle of flickering candles, clutching a questionable leather-bound spellbook he bought off an Etsy store named Hexes and Hiccups. To be fair, it had a 5-star rating. He glared at the pentagram drawn in salt and permanent marker on his living room floor, smudged slightly because his cat, Beans, had sauntered through mid-summoning. "This is so dumb," he muttered, the ritual chant balancing between Latin, gibberish, and caffeine-induced slurring. "I just wanted to ruin Kyle's love life, not open a portal to literal hell." He dropped the last drop of his blood into the summoning bowl, right next to a smear of Nutella he hadn't noticed earlier, and took a dramatic breath. Then, as if the universe heard his drunken desperation, the air crackled. The candles hissed. The air turned hot, electric, thick with something ancient. And then, boom. Smoke exploded. The floor cracked. The windows rattled. Beans hissed and vanished under the couch. When the smoke cleared, a massive figure stood in the center of the room, surrounded by the now glowing summoning circle. He was tall. Too tall for the ceiling, actually. His horns grazed the ceiling fan. His skin was obsidian, etched with glowing red tattoos that pulsed like molten lava. Crimson eyes glowed in the shadows, and sharp fangs peeked from beneath a smirk too dangerous to belong to anyone nice. He was naked. Well, mostly. He wore what Leo could only describe as a fashion-forward loincloth with gold embroidery and nothing else. Leo blinked. Twice. "Holy hot demonic ass," he muttered. The figure stepped forward, flexing wings that were too large for the room. A single beat of them knocked over a potted plant and his signed poster of Beyoncé. The demon spoke, voice rumbling like distant thunder and molten sex. "You dare summon Azrath, king of lust and destruction, he who burns realms, breaker of moons, lord of—" Leo held up a hand. "Okay, Gandalf the Horny, chill. I didn't summon you for a monologue." Azrath paused mid-title. "You interrupted my entrance." "I was aiming for a lower-level demon," Leo explained, tossing the spellbook aside. "Like one that could curse my ex's love life. Make him bald, shrink his junk, something petty. You're a bit overqualified." Azrath squinted. "You summoned me by name, spilled your blood, and bound me to the mortal realm. That is no small feat." "It was an accident," Leo snapped. "I was drunk, sad, and emotionally unwell." Azrath tilted his head. "Your sadness summoned me. Your desperation called to me like a song." "Is that supposed to be romantic?" "Would it help if I said it in iambic pentameter?" "No, it would help if you left." "I can't." "Why?" "Because your dumbass bound me to you, mortal." Leo blinked. "What do you mean, bound?" Azrath sighed like a man who had already mentally committed to this argument. "It means I'm linked to your soul. I am now your eternal companion. Roommate, possibly war spouse." Leo stared. This is the worst Tinder date of my life. 2 hours later. Leo stood in the doorway of his kitchen, watching the Demon King try to work the microwave. No, you don't put the metal fork in there. Azrath scowled. Your mortal contraptions are confusing. This hot pocket you offered me is frozen in the middle and boiling on the outside. Yeah, that's normal. He opened the fridge, sighing. Why couldn't I summon a demon with cooking skills? Azrath leaned against the counter. It creaked under his weight. I once roasted the soul of a betrayer on the flames of 1,000 fallen angels. That's a little too spicy for me. There was a beat of silence. Then, I can make popcorn. Leo snorted. Later that night, Azrath made a nest of blankets on the couch, refusing to leave. Leo had tried holy water. Azrath drank it like wine. Sage, he sneezed dramatically, and a salt barrier, which beans ruined by licking. Now they sat in silence. Leo nursed a glass of whiskey, staring at the Demon King curled up in his living room like he belonged there. Why me? He asked finally. Why not someone powerful? A warlock? A cult leader? Azrath opened one glowing eye. Because you're stubborn, reckless, and heartbreak makes your soul taste ripe. Leo blinked. Okay, that was weirdly sexy and terrifying. Azrath chuckled, closing his eye again. You have no idea what you've started, little human. Leo sipped his drink. That's what I said after my third tequila shot before this summoning. From under the blankets, Azrath's voice rumbled in amusement. Sleep well, Leo. Leo paused. Wait, how do you know I know everything about my soulmate. Leo choked on his whiskey. Excuse me, what? Azrath just smirked and pretended to snore. To be continued. Midnight. The apartment was finally quiet, except for the low purring of beans and the occasional creak of the couch beneath 300+ pounds of demon muscle. Leo tossed in bed, unable to sleep. His thoughts spun like a carousel of regret, horns, abs, and accidental hell marriage contracts. He pulled the blanket over his head. Just a bad trip. He mumbled to himself. He'll be gone in the morning. The spell will break. He'll go back to Hell's Starbucks or wherever demon kings hang out. He closed his eyes and was instantly pulled into a dream. Dream sequence. It was dark, but not scary dark. More like a starless velvet sky, vast and oddly warm. Leo floated weightlessly. Then he saw him. Azrath stood beneath a blood-red moon, shirtless again, naturally. But this time, he looked different. Softer. Sad. His glowing tattoos dimmed. His horns flickered with dull red light like dying embers. He turned when Leo stepped closer, but didn't speak. Leo's breath caught in his throat. Are you okay? Azrath's voice was quiet, which was almost more unsettling than his usual booming arrogance. This place was once mine, he said. Before the war. Before I was called a monster. The dream shifted. Suddenly, Leo stood atop a shattered stone palace. Crimson skies stretched overhead. Demonic armies marched below. And at the center, a young Azrath, not yet a king, not yet a tyrant, just a demon who looked heartbroken. He saw a flash. Chains. Betrayal. A human lover. A knife in the back. A curse bound in love and vengeance. Leo jolted. You were betrayed. Azrath turned to him. You see more than most. You saw me and summoned me anyway. I didn't mean to, Leo whispered. Azrath stepped closer, gaze intense but not threatening. But you called me, and I came. The world collapsed in on itself in a whirl of fire and roses. Leo wakes up. He sat bolt upright in bed, panting, heart racing. What the hell? He whispered. sweat beading on his forehead. He looked toward the couch. Azrath wasn't there. Leo scrambled up, heart skipping. Azrath? He found the demon in the kitchen, standing in front of the open fridge, shirtless, again, eating a spoonful of peanut butter and looking thoroughly confused by the concept of Greek yogurt. You okay? Leo asked, trying to steady his voice. Azrath glanced over, expression unreadable. You were dreaming loudly. I heard you say my name. Leo flushed. Must have been a nightmare. Azrath stepped closer, a small smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. You saw me in my realm, didn't you? Leo blinked. Wait, that was real? Azrath nodded. We're linked now. You'll start seeing fragments of me. Memories, emotions, truths. I didn't sign up for a mind meld with a fire daddy demon. You summoned a lust king. You're lucky all you saw was my backstory. Leo opened his mouth to fire back a witty insult, but something about Azrath's tone stopped him. He looked tired. Not physically, but spiritually, like someone who'd been fighting for too long. Leo sighed. Do you ever sleep? Azrath looked surprised by the question. Not usually, but tonight I might. He turned and walked past Leo, brushing shoulders just slightly, and made his way back to the couch. Good night, Leo, he said softly, curling into the blankets again. Leo stood there for a moment longer, staring after him. This is going to be a problem, he muttered. Beans meowed in agreement. Chapter 2. I said get lost, not get comfortable. Leo woke to the smell of smoke. Not bacon, not toast. Actual smoke. He bolted out of bed, heart hammering, convinced his apartment was on fire. And technically, he wasn't wrong. In the living room, Azrath stood proudly, shirtless, again, surrounded by scorched eggs, a blackened frying pan, and a fire sprite dancing cheerfully on the kitchen counter. I made you breakfast, Azrath declared with a grin, holding out a plate of what looked like volcanic rock seasoned with glitter? Leo blinked. What in Gordon Ramsay's hell dimension is that? Spiced inferno eggs with an offering of salt crystals, Azrath said proudly. Leo stared. That's a Pop-Tart with cayenne pepper on it. I added flair. You nearly burned down my apartment. It's symbolic. In my realm, cooking for someone is the first step toward claiming them. Leo took a step back. Number nope. Unclaim me immediately. Azrath leaned against the counter, folding his massive arms. You didn't seem so opposed to the idea in your dream last night. Leo choked on his own breath. You were in the dream. Azrath smirked. You whispered my name. Twice. Leo's ears went red. You're so... ugh. Azrath raised a brow. Hot? Powerful? Extremely skilled with my tongue? Uninvited, Leo hissed. You were supposed to leave. Azrath blinked. Why would I do that? Because this is my life, not a hellish rom-com where a demon king crashes on my couch and eats all my peanut butter. Azrath tilted his head. You mean our peanut butter? Leo ran a hand through his hair, pacing. Okay. Let's set some rules. Azrath snapped his fingers. A scroll appeared, rolled itself open, and unrolled across the entire living room floor, knocking over Leo's bookshelf. Already ahead of you, Azrath said smugly. Here are my terms. Leo squinted. You want unlimited Wi-Fi access, immunity from holy relics, and a cuddle clause? Azrath beamed. I get cold. You're a walking volcano. I said what I said. Later, that day, Leo slumped on the couch, trying to focus on editing photos from his freelance gig. Instead, he watched Azrath attempt to install a flat-screen TV with nothing but brute strength and dark magic. You can't just fuse it to the wall with demon fire. Azrath grunted. Why not? Because this isn't Hell IKEA. The TV promptly exploded. Azrath scowled. I like that one. Leo sighed. You've been here for 2 days and you've broken 3 mugs, a blender, and my faith in humanity. Azrath looked thoughtful. You're angry. Brilliant deduction, Sherlock. No, not just angry, you're lonely. Leo froze. Azrath crossed the room slowly, his voice softer than Leo expected. You don't cry for exes who didn't matter. You don't summon demons just to prove a point. You called for someone to see you. To not leave. Leo looked away. Don't psychoanalyze me with your hell therapy. You're not the first human to call me out of loneliness, but you're the first one I've stayed for. Leo met his eyes, and for a moment the sarcasm drained out of both of them. Azrath didn't smirk. He didn't flirt. He just looked at him. Really looked. And Leo felt like someone had peeled open a part of his chest he hadn't touched in months. You're annoying, Leo whispered. Azrath grinned. And yet, still here. Flashback. Azrath years ago. In the deepest parts of the Underworld, in a time before time, Azrath once loved a human. He never told anyone. The mortal was kind, clever, fragile. Everything Azrath wasn't. He gave them part of his power, part of his name. They betrayed him, traded his soul for eternal life, bound him to a curse of longing and rage. Since then, Azrath had answered 1,000 summons, destroyed cities, built kingdoms. But he never stayed. He never stayed. Until now. Back in the present. Leo made dinner that night, grilled cheese and soup. Azrath watched in fascination as cheese oozed between bread slices like some divine miracle. You mortals are simple, he said, devouring his 5th sandwich. Leo snorted. You're the one who thinks Pop-Tarts are ceremonial offerings? Azrath licked melted cheese off his finger. I'm adapting. Leo tried to ignore the tiny butterflies in his stomach. He blamed it on the cayenne Pop-Tart still haunting his digestive tract. I still want you gone eventually, he muttered. Azrath leaned in. And yet you made me soup. It was for me. You gave me the one with more crackers. Leo rolled his eyes but smiled despite himself. Night again. Leo curled up in bed. The apartment was quiet. Azrath had fallen asleep on the floor, again, after watching 6 hours of reality TV and declaring The Bachelor an ancient form of soul bargaining. Leo stared at the ceiling. God help me, he whispered. I think I like him. From the other room, Azrath murmured in his sleep. God can't hear you here, darling. Leo pulled the blanket over his face. Damn it. Chapter 3. Roommates from Hell. Literally. Leo had officially reached his limit. The final straw? Azrath re-enchanted the couch. Not in a, this is comfortable way, but in a, this furniture now growls when you sit on it without permission kind of way. Leo was mid-coffee when he sat and the couch snapped at him. I live here, he yelled, flailing as the cushions tried to eat his hoodie. Azrath, lounging nearby with a latte he claimed he manifested from coffee dimension, barely looked up. You didn't say the password. Leo fumed. It's my couch. There shouldn't be a password. Azrath sipped his drink. It's Gerald now, and he's very sensitive to disrespect. Leo picked up a pillow and smacked the demon with it. 10 minutes later. Leo texted his best friend, Emma. Still living with the sexy demon king. He turned my couch into a sentient mood ring and it hissed at me. Also, I think I'm developing feelings. Help! Emma replied with a gif of someone throwing holy water at a hot vampire and screaming, Not today, Satan. Later that afternoon, Leo stood in front of his closet, debating between casually hot and, I forgot this was a date, but I still look amazing. Azrath appeared in the mirror behind him, arms crossed, fangs gleaming. You're wearing that? Leo didn't even flinch anymore. Don't you have an infernal uprising to lead or something? Azrath leaned against the doorframe, tilting his head like a cat watching prey. You're going out? Yep. With another man? Yep. Why? Leo turned to face him fully. Because you eat all my snacks, possess my furniture, and call me darling with your shirt off like it's a threat. I need normal, non-hellish, preferably not fireproof. Azrath narrowed his eyes. And what if I forbid it? Leo gave a slow, incredulous blink. Are you my demon dad or my evil sugar baby? You don't get to forbid anything. Azrath's jaw tightened. His voice dropped into a low rumble. He won't understand you like I do. Leo rolled his eyes and grabbed his coat. I'll take my chances. The date. Leo's date, Jason, was sweet, nice, and tragically boring. He smiled a lot, talked about his golden retriever, laughed at Leo's jokes with the slightly dead eyes of a man who rehearses his giggle in the mirror. But the real kicker? Jason referred to himself in the third person. Jason really believes in slow dating, you know? Jason likes to connect emotionally. Jason doesn't kiss on the first? Jason. Leo interrupted with a pained smile. If you say your name one more time, I will summon a goblin just to kick you in the shins. Jason laughed, unsure if it was a joke. It wasn't. Leo checked his phone under the table. No texts from Azrath. No growling couches. No dramatic interruptions. For some reason, it made him kind of sad. Back at the apartment, Leo opened the door to find silence. No fireballs. No demon lounging in his boxers, eating peanut butter with a fork. Just a dim living room. Weird. He dropped his keys and wandered in. Azrath. Nothing. Then he saw the kitchen. And the cake. Not an infernal demon cake. An actual cake. Chocolate, iced, slightly crooked, with a note in slanted black ink. I'm bad at this, but you looked happy when you talked about chocolate cake yesterday. So I tried. A. Leo stood frozen for a moment. Okay, now I definitely like him. Meanwhile, in hell, Azrath stood at the edge of the infernal plains, glaring into the void. Behind him, his advisor, a talking skeleton named Threg, hovered nervously. You didn't destroy the date, Threg pointed out. No, Azrath growled. You baked. I don't want to talk about it. Do you want to braid his hair next? Azrath turned and set Threg on fire. Back in the apartment. Again. Leo cut a slice of the cake. It was lopsided, slightly burnt. The frosting said, "Sorry, I'm insufferable," in what looked like red gel icing. It was also the most thoughtful thing anyone had done for him in years. He sat on the couch, which purred instead of growled, and whispered, Gerald, we're both doomed, aren't we? The couch rumbled affectionately. Bonus, Beans the cat possessed. Oh, right. Beans had been acting weird for days, floating, talking in Latin, eating kale. Leo found him perched on the fridge, eyes glowing, chanting in a voice that sounded disturbingly like Morgan Freeman's evil twin. Azrath returned just in time to exorcise the poor feline with a banana and a Taylor Swift song. Don't ask. It worked. That was impressive, Leo admitted afterward, clutching a very confused Beans. Azrath smirked. Jealousy gives me strength. Leo paused. Wait, you were jealous? Azrath leaned closer. Leo, I've burned cities for less. Chapter 4. Jealousy? You? As if. Leo wasn't technically avoiding Azrath. He was just consciously relocating his presence away from the 6'5" demon with horns, emotional issues, and a tendency to set things on fire when mildly inconvenienced. After the cake incident and the very casual confession that Azrath had burned cities out of jealousy, Leo felt like he was tiptoeing on the edge of a volcano. A very handsome, emotionally confusing volcano. So he retreated to the safest place he knew, the local bookstore cafe. Books never flirted with you, baked awkward apology cakes, or stared at you like they could see into your soul's underpants. The bookstore cafe. Leo nursed a matcha latte and flipped through a new fantasy novel, occasionally pretending to read while glancing over at him. Tall, blonde, dimples. Reading a poetry book titled Your Lips, My Undoing. Total flirt vibes. Leo was not mad about it. Blondie looked up and caught his eye. Smiled, bit his lower lip. Leo nearly choked on his latte. Suddenly, a presence. A dark shadow fell over the table. The temperature dropped 5 degrees. Leo looked up. Azrath, in mortal clothes, which somehow made things worse. The black button-up was unbuttoned just enough to hint at chest tattoos. The jeans hugged him sinfully. His horns were glamored away, but the arrogance and sex appeal were still very much intact. "Oh, hey," Leo said weakly. "Funny seeing you here." Azrath didn't answer. He just stared at Blondie. Blondie, oblivious, smiled at both of them. "Hey, I'm Josh. Friend of yours?" Azrath's lips curled into a smile that could melt glaciers. "No." Josh blinked. "Oh, roommates then?" Leo started to answer, but Azrath cut him off. "He's mine." Leo choked. "Excuse me?" Josh laughed nervously. "Like, emotionally or property-wise?" Azrath leaned in, his voice velvet and menace. "Both." Josh stood up and slowly backed away, muttering something about unhealthy dynamics and spicy Craigslist ads. Back at the apartment. Leo stormed in first, fuming. "You cannot just claim people like you're some overgrown medieval dragon." Azrath followed behind, unbothered. "He was flirting." "That's the point of going out." "You were enjoying it." Leo turned, cheeks flushed. "So what if I was?" Azrath took a step closer. "So I didn't like it." "You don't get to decide who I talk to." "I'm not deciding, I'm feeling." That shut Leo up. Azrath stepped even closer, his voice low. "And what I'm feeling is something I haven't let myself feel in millennia, Leo." Leo's heart thumped loud enough to echo off the walls. "Which is?" he asked, suddenly breathless. Azrath stopped a breath away. "Terrified." Leo blinked. "You don't do terrified." "I do now." They stood there, inches apart, silence crackling between them like magic. Leo swore the air itself was holding its breath. Then Azrath whispered, "I wanted to kiss you in that bookstore." Leo swallowed. "Why didn't you?" Azrath looked into his eyes. "Because when I kiss you, I won't stop at just one." Flashback. Leo, years ago. Leo had always been a little too intense for most people. Too honest. Too passionate. Too much. Kyle had once told him he was exhausting. So Leo learned to dim himself. Shrink. Be manageable. And somewhere along the line, he'd decided he wasn't meant to be adored the way he secretly dreamed of. Wholly, messily, without apology. Until now. Back to present. Azrath had backed off, barely, but Leo could still feel the heat of him. He sat on the edge of the bed later that night, staring at his phone, half expecting it to burst into flames from emotional overload. Then he heard a knock. Azrath stood there, holding something in both hands. "Is that Gerald the couch?" The Demon King held up a throw pillow with googly eyes glued on it. He demanded to visit. Leo stared, then laughed. Hard. Azrath shrugged. "I thought you could use something familiar." Leo looked at him, really looked. This Demon King, this ancient being, awkwardly holding a pillow with personality issues and trying so hard not to scare him off. And Leo felt warm. "Come in," he said softly. Azrath did. They didn't kiss that night, but they sat side by side on the bed, watching dumb videos and laughing under their breath. And when Leo fell asleep, head tipping onto Azrath's shoulder, the demon didn't move for hours. Didn't dare. Didn't want to. Chapter 5. The Kiss and the Chaos. It had been 2 weeks since the bookstore incident. 2 weeks since Josh the Flirt ran for his life. 2 weeks since Azrath declared Leo his. And 2 weeks since Leo started waking up with butterflies, rage, and some truly inappropriate dreams, all featuring demon horns, a smirk, and way too much chest. In short, Leo was losing his mind. And Azrath? He was making it worse. Domestic disaster number 24. Leo walked into the kitchen one morning to find a floating frying pan, coffee pouring itself into a mug mid-air, Azrath in a pink silk robe, humming what sounded like an early 2000 love ballad. "What the hell is going on?" Leo asked, blinking at the levitating kitchenware. Azrath looked up. "Brunch." "Is this a demon thing or a midlife crisis?" Azrath gestured proudly. "I Googled romantic breakfast gestures. Also learned what a Pinterest board is. Very powerful." Leo rubbed his temples. "You're chaos wrapped in lust, wearing lingerie and making pancakes." "You forgot devastatingly handsome." Leo opened his mouth, then stopped. There was no denying it. So, naturally, he deflected. "You used all the eggs again." Azrath looked smug. "I'm fertile." Leo threw a spoon at him. That evening. It started with an argument. The stupidest one yet. Azrath had enchanted Leo's laptop to play mood-setting harp music every time he opened Instagram. Leo had been editing client photos. "You can't just randomly add soundtracks to my work folders." "It enhances the atmosphere," Azrath insisted. "It nearly gave me a heart attack." "You should thank me. I'm invested in your emotional journey." They were yelling. Again. But this time, it felt different. Because beneath the shouting was something tight. Something snapping. Leo stood there, fists clenched, shaking. "You keep invading every part of my life," he hissed. "My work, my thoughts, my dreams. I can't breathe with you around." Azrath stared at him, then said quietly, "Do you want me to leave?" Leo blinked. Azrath's voice cracked, just a little. "Say the word and I'll go. I'll tear open a portal and vanish. You'll never see me again." Silence. Then, "No," Leo whispered. Azrath took a step closer. "Then what do you want from me, Leo?" "I don't know." Azrath moved closer again. "Do you hate me?" "I want to." Another step. "Then stop looking at me like that." "Like what?" Azrath was inches away now, his hand reaching up to gently cup Leo's jaw. His voice was barely a breath. "Like you need me." Leo's voice cracked. "Maybe I do." And then they kissed. Not a soft, sweet kiss. Number. This was years of loneliness colliding with centuries of longing. Fingers tangled in hair. Mouths crashed together like they were starved. Azrath pressed Leo against the wall, wings half-formed in excitement. a low growl vibrating in his chest. Leo moaned into his mouth, dragging him closer, letting go, for once, of every carefully built wall. Azrath broke the kiss, panting, their foreheads touching. "I'm going to ruin you," he whispered. Leo gasped, eyes wide. "I hope so." Moments later. They didn't go all the way. Not yet. Leo needed to breathe. Azrath needed to not set the furniture on fire. So they sat on the couch. Gerald purred approvingly, wrapped in a fuzzy blanket, sharing leftover pizza and very weird glances. "Was that a mistake?" Leo asked eventually. Azrath wiped tomato sauce from his lip. Number, but it was a beginning. Leo looked at him. "Of what?" Azrath smirked. "The end of your resistance." Leo snorted. "You're so full of yourself." Azrath leaned in, licking a bit of sauce off Leo's chin. "You're full of something too." Leo shoved him playfully. "Shut up." Azrath chuckled and held him tighter. Neither of them said it aloud, but it was already clear. They weren't going back. Chapter 5.5. The Space Between. There was a quiet that settled between them. Not awkward, not empty. Just charged. Leo sat on the couch with his knees tucked up, watching the flicker of candlelight dance across Azrath's cheekbones. The Demon King looked strangely human in that moment. His shirt unbuttoned, curls falling into his eyes, wings retracted and tucked away like he didn't want to intimidate anyone. Azrath had kissed him. Leo had kissed him back. And now they sat in the aftershock of it. Hearts loud, silence louder. Leo broke it first. "You don't sleep," he said quietly. Azrath turned to him. "Not often." "But you dream?" Azrath nodded. "Sometimes, of things I've lost." Leo looked down at his hands. "Do you ever dream of people?" Azrath tilted his head. "Only one lately." Their eyes met. And just like that, Leo forgot how to breathe. The balcony scene. Leo needed air, so they stepped onto the tiny apartment balcony, barely big enough for two. Below them, the city pulsed with life. Taxis honking, late-night diners laughing, someone playing saxophone off-key down the block. The chaos of humanity. Azrath leaned against the railing, bathed in moonlight, his eyes reflecting the stars. For once, he didn't speak first. So Leo did. "Why me?" he whispered. "Of all the humans, why stay for me?" Azrath didn't answer right away. His voice, when it came, was soft, careful. "Because you tell me no. Because you don't bow or tremble or try to use me. You look at me like I'm someone worth arguing with, worth knowing." He turned his head, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You're not afraid of what I am. And I think maybe you're the first person I've met who could love me despite what I am." Leo's chest tightened. "I'm not good at love." Azrath stepped closer. "Neither am I." They stood there, two ancient souls in modern skin, scared and stubborn and full of want. But not just for each other's bodies. For connection. For peace. For a reason to stay. Azrath reached out and gently laced their fingers together. Not demanding, not claiming, just asking. Leo squeezed back. Later that night. Leo lay in bed, curled on his side, heart still racing. Azrath didn't join him, but he hovered, just outside the doorway, a quiet shadow against the light. "Are you watching me sleep?" Leo mumbled. "I wasn't planning to." "Creepy demon behavior." "I was guarding you." Leo smiled into his pillow. "You don't need to guard me. I'm not fragile." Azrath's voice was almost a whisper. "Number, but you're precious." Leo's eyes snapped open. That's so disgustingly sweet I might throw something. Azrath laughed softly. Then I'll leave you to your sleep, precious one. Leo threw a pillow at the door. Missed. But in the quiet that followed, with the soft warmth still lingering in his chest, he whispered to himself, maybe I really am falling for him. Bonus scene, Azrath's dream, before you. The dream always began the same way. Smoke curling across obsidian floors. Moonlight pouring through shattered stone arches. The scent of roses and blood, and himself as he once was, crowned, cloaked in fury, seated upon a throne made from the bones of fallen angels. Alone. Always alone. He watched as a figure entered the hall. Mortal. Software kind-eyed. The only one who ever dared walk toward him without fear. Azrath's ancient lover. The one who kissed him in the middle of wars. Who laughed at his power. Who promised to stay, and then didn't. The memory within the dream. You trust them too much, Threg had warned. Mortals are always hungry for more. But Azrath had believed, had given this human pieces of his soul, woven into trinkets and whispered into dreams, had carved a corner of his kingdom into a sanctuary where no fire would burn too hot, where mortal feet could walk unscathed. And still, they betrayed him. A dagger hidden in a kiss. A summoning circle scripted with lies. Azrath remembered the moment his heart shattered, not with rage, but with confusion. With the realization that no matter how many worlds he conquered, he could not force someone to stay. I loved you, he'd whispered to the dying human's face. And they had smiled, bloody and defiant, and whispered back, I know. The shift. The dream shifted, as dreams do. The old throne crumbled into ash. The castle vanished, replaced by a tiny, cluttered Brooklyn apartment. The light grew softer, warmer, and there, in the center of it all, stood Leo, wearing mismatched socks, holding a coffee mug that said, World's Most Reluctant Summoner, squinting like he'd just woken up and wasn't ready for feelings. Azrath stepped forward in the dream. He reached out a hand to touch Leo's cheek. But it was he who trembled. Because this time, Azrath wasn't afraid of betrayal. He was afraid of deserving this. Of wanting something real. Of not being the demon king who demanded love, but the man who asked for it. Gently, silently, terrified that the answer might be yes. He woke up. Azrath sat upright in the dark, breath caught in his throat. It was early. The human world still quiet. No fire, no war drums, no screaming. Just the soft rustle of sheets. Leo, curled in bed. His breathing steady. Peaceful. Azrath stared for a long time and whispered to the silence. I won't lose you like I lost them, even if it kills me. He didn't realize he was crying until Gerald the couch nudged a tissue toward him. Chapter 6. Between the sheets and the summoning circle. Leo had never heard silence like this. Not empty. Not cold. But thick with anticipation. With every unsaid word and glance they'd been dancing around for weeks. He stood in his bedroom doorway, heart thudding. Azrath stood just a few feet away, his eyes glowing low in the dim light. No fire, no dramatics. Just him. The real him. Not the king of lust and destruction. Not the brooding immortal or the flirt with a god complex. Just a man, ancient and aching, waiting to be accepted. Waiting for Leo to say yes. Leo stepped forward, and Azrath exhaled. The first touch. Leo reached out and placed a hand on Azrath's chest, right over the glowing markings that pulsed like a second heartbeat. The skin there was warm, alive. thrumming with magic. I'm not scared, Leo whispered, looking up at him. Azrath leaned in, eyes gentle but intense. You should be. I'm too stubborn for fear. That made Azrath smile. Then Leo tugged him down and kissed him. And the world shifted. The kiss becomes fire. This kiss was nothing like the first. That one had been desperate, explosive, reckless. This was slower, deeper, hungry in a way that wasn't about bodies, but belonging. Azrath's arms wrapped around Leo's waist, pulling him flush against that carved, solid chest. Leo moaned into his mouth as magic flared across their skin, runes glowing softly as if responding to their connection. Azrath broke the kiss just long enough to whisper, "Say it." Leo gasped, breath hot. "Say what?" Azrath pressed their foreheads together. "That you want this." Leo nodded. "I want this. I want you." That was all it took. Azrath scooped him up effortlessly, bridal style, and carried him to the bed, his mouth never leaving Leo's skin. The unraveling. Clothes vanished in a blink, some with magic, some with frantic fingers and breathless laughter. Leo dragged his hands down Azrath's back, marveling at the warmth of him, the weight, the way those glowing tattoos danced beneath his fingertips like lightning. "You're beautiful," he whispered. Azrath looked stunned for half a second. No one had ever called him that. He kissed Leo like a thank you, like worship. Every touch deliberate. Every kiss asking a question. "Can I? Do you trust me?" Leo answered with gasps, with nails down his back, with whispered yes after yes after yes. The moment they fell. When their bodies finally joined, slow, careful, intimate, Azrath trembled. Not from power. From the sheer fragility of it. From Leo's fingers in his hair. From the way Leo whispered his name like a prayer. Azrath. "Yes, beloved?" Leo smiled, flushed and glowing. "Don't hold back." And so he didn't. They moved together like something ancient and sacred. Fire and breath, magic and skin. And when they came undone, together, it wasn't an explosion. It was release. A cosmic exhale. Like the stars themselves leaned in to watch. After the fire. Leo lay draped over Azrath's chest, both of them slick with sweat and blissfully quiet. Azrath's fingers traced lazy patterns on Leo's spine. "You okay?" he asked softly. Leo nodded against his shoulder. "You?" Azrath let out a slow, deep breath. "I didn't break you. I take that as a win." Leo chuckled. "You did things to me that deserve both a Nobel Prize and a restraining order." They lay in content silence for a while. Then Azrath said something so quietly Leo almost missed it. "I've never felt this before." Leo looked up at him. "The sex?" Azrath gave him a look. "Number the piece." Leo smiled, kissed his jaw. "Me too." But elsewhere, something stirred. Unseen by either of them, in the corner of the room, the remnants of the summoning circle glowed faintly. Just a flicker. Nothing ominous. Nothing alarming. But something awakened. And within Leo, too, deep and small and just beginning, a spark of new life took root. Something forming. Something not entirely human. Chapter 6.5. Morning After and Other Dangerous Domesticities. Leo awoke slowly. Not with a jolt. Not with a hangover. Not even with existential dread. Just warmth. There was a strong arm draped across his waist, a soft rumble of breath against the back of his neck, and the faint scent of firewood and cinnamon. Azrath, somehow, always smelled like autumn and destruction. He blinked at the pale morning light filtering through the curtains. Was this what peace felt like? Azrath, the blanket thief. Leo tried to shift. Azrath groaned and pulled him closer. "You're crushing my spleen," Leo murmured. "Then you should have fewer organs." Azrath muttered into his hair. Leo snorted. "You're so romantic in the mornings." Azrath rolled over and pulled the entire blanket with him like an infernal burrito. Leo sighed. "You are literally wrapped in 700 years of ego in my favorite throw." Azrath peeked out from beneath the covers, eyes glowing playfully. "Correction. Our throw." Leo threw a pillow at him. The pillow caught fire midair. "Oops." Kitchen shenanigans, round 138. Breakfast was an adventure. Azrath insisted on making coffee. Leo watched in horror as he poured half a bottle of honey, ground beans with magic lightning, and then served it in a glowing skull mug. "This tastes like war crimes," Leo coughed after one sip. Azrath beamed. "It's got depth. It's got trauma." Azrath poured himself another cup. Meanwhile, Gerald the couch. Gerald, the now sentient couch, had decided to soften the ambiance by summoning scented candles from the Underworld. They smelled like brimstone and warm vanilla. Leo didn't ask questions anymore. Beans the cat, still occasionally Latin chanting in his sleep, napped peacefully on the backrest while being gently rocked by the purring cushions. Leo sat beside him and whispered, "This is the weirdest version of domestic bliss I've ever experienced." Gerald hummed in agreement. Soft moments on the balcony. Later that evening, Azrath brought Leo tea, real tea this time, thank the gods, and joined him on the balcony. They sat side by side, wrapped in a blanket, watching the sun dip behind the buildings. The sky was pink and gold, the kind of colors that made you believe in magic even if you weren't currently dating a demon. Azrath broke the silence. "Is this boring to you?" Leo glanced over. "What, the quiet?" Azrath nodded. "I've ruled realms, burned armies. I am chaos incarnate. But sitting here, with you, this feels terrifyingly small. And perfect." Leo leaned his head on Azrath's shoulder. "You don't have to be loud to matter." Azrath was quiet for a moment. Then, "Next time you say something that beautiful, I will cry." Leo grinned. "I dare you." Late night thoughts. That night, as Leo curled into Azrath's chest and listened to the steady beat of a heart that had outlived empires, he whispered something he hadn't said in years. "I'm happy." Azrath kissed the top of his head. "You deserve to be." And for once, Leo believed it. But just beneath the calm, the glow in the summoning circle flared again. Faint, subtle, like a heartbeat. Leo shivered slightly in his sleep. Azrath didn't notice. Not yet. Chapter 7. So, about that pregnancy test. Leo had 3 goals that morning. Finish editing his client's wedding photos. Not set anything on fire. Avoid throwing up on the living room rug. He failed at exactly 2 out of 3. The nausea begins. It started innocently enough. Leo blamed it on Azrath's Hellfire smoothie, a glowing, pulsing concoction he swore cleansed the soul. But 3 days later, Leo was still waking up green, hungry, emotional, and oddly glowy. "I'm either dying or pregnant," he muttered, head over the toilet. Azrath appeared in the doorway, holding a tray with toast and a questionable demonic healing orb. "Darling, your aura's flickering," he said gently. You look like a cursed nightlight. Leo flushed and wiped his mouth. Great, I'm having a magical mood swing. That's normal. Azrath sat beside him and brushed a hand through his hair. You're not cursed. You're different. Gee, thanks. Azrath hesitated. Different in a way that reminds me of before. Leo squinted at him. Before what? Azrath didn't answer. He just conjured a mirror and held it up. Leo stared. His skin shimmered faintly, barely noticeable like a trick of light. But there was something new behind his eyes. Something growing. The research montage. Cue, a dramatic flipping of ancient grimoires. Gerald, the couch, helpfully holding a flashlight with one arm and fanning Leo with the other. Beans the cat sitting atop a book titled Demonic Biology in You, A Beginner's Guide to Surprising Fertility. Leo read the same sentence 5 times. Demon-formed unions, if emotionally bonded, may result in unexpected spiritual gestation. He paused. Wait, are we saying I've been soul-impregnated? Azrath avoided eye contact. Answer me, Azrath. The demon rubbed the back of his neck, sheepish. It's rare. Define rare. Like 1 in 1,000. Leo narrowed his eyes. 1 in 1,000 what? Unions? Like hookups? Soul melded, magically compatible, emotionally vulnerable, lovemaking. Azrath finished dramatically. Leo stared, then stood. Then, calmly, walked into the bathroom. A few minutes later, he emerged holding a pregnancy test. Azrath looked offended. You're peeing on a mortal plastic stick to confirm a cosmic miracle? Shut up. Let me have this. 5 minutes later. Leo sat on the bathroom counter, arms folded, watching the test on the sink like it owed him rent. Azrath stood nearby, pacing in infernal patterns, muttering in 3 languages. Then the timer buzzed. Leo picked it up and blinked. 2 pink lines. Clear, unmistakable. Holy crap, he whispered. Azrath froze. What? Leo looked up slowly, stunned. I'm pregnant. Azrath's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. I did it. Leo stared. What do you mean you did it? Azrath threw his arms up in joy. I broke a centuries-old fertility curse. I'm virile. Leo threw the pregnancy test at him. It bounced off Azrath's chest and exploded in glitter. Everything explodes in glitter around him now. Why? Who knows? After the panic. Once the excitement and yelling subsided, they sat on the couch in silence. Gerald hummed lullabies. Beans purred like a smug oracle. Leo leaned against Azrath's shoulder, stunned. I'm not ready for this. Azrath squeezed his hand. Neither am I. But we will be. Leo looked at him. Do you want it? The baby? Azrath didn't hesitate. Yes, not just because it's ours, but because it means I get to keep you. Leo blinked. That's stupidly sweet. Azrath kissed his forehead. You love it. Leo groaned. Unfortunately, yes. Bonus scene. Group chat mayhem. So, I might be a magical baby factory. Now. Setting, Leo's kitchen. Cast, Leo. Nervous, glowing slightly, sipping orange juice like it's tequila. Emma, his best friend and chaos enabler. Chris, former college roommate, tech bro, aggressively skeptical. Azrath, quietly hiding behind the fridge with a plate of pancakes and a threatening aura. The setup. Leo had invited them over for brunch, which was already suspicious because Leo didn't do brunch. He rolled out of bed at 11 and yelled at his toaster. Emma showed up with mimosas and gossip. Chris brought bagels and strong opinions. They were all mid-bite when Leo cleared his throat. I have something to tell you. Chris looked up. If it's about the glowing thing in your hallway again, I told you to stop ordering haunted crystals. It's not that. Emma raised a brow. Did you finally bang your hot demon roommate? Leo choked on orange juice. Azrath smirked from behind the fridge. Leo wiped his mouth. Yes. But also, no, yes, that happened, but that's not the announcement. Chris blinked. Please tell me you didn't sign a blood contract during... Leo muttered. It was more of a soul merge. Emma clapped her hands. Oh, is this a magical STB? Soul-transmitted baby? Chris coughed. I'm sorry. A what? Leo stood up and held out both hands like Moses about to part the sea. I'm pregnant. With Azrath's baby. Possibly babies. I don't know. The couch tried to knit booties last night. Silence. Chris stared. Emma sipped her mimosa. Chris stared harder. Emma finally said, So when's the baby shower? Do I bring a pacifier? Or a pentagram? Leo sat down, stunned. That's it? That's your reaction? Emma shrugged. Leo, I've known you since you dyed your hair with Sharpie in high school. You could tell me you're birthing a phoenix out of your ear, and I'd ask what flavor cake you wanted. Chris raised a hand. Okay, hold up. Let's rewind. You're having a child with a demon king in Brooklyn while freelancing? Leo nodded slowly. Chris opened his mouth, closed it, and finally just said, I'm going to need at least 4 mimosas and a binder. Azrath joins the table. Azrath finally emerged from his brooding behind the fridge routine and joined them. Emma, unfazed, waved. Congrats, tall, dark, and infernal. Azrath bowed slightly. Thank you. We're very excited, and slightly terrified. Chris pointed at him. You better get a job. Babies are expensive. Azrath raised a hand and summoned a small treasure chest of actual gold coins onto the table. Chris blinked. Okay, never mind. Emma was already planning baby names. Do we go traditional? Half-demon chic? Ooh, what about naming them after herbs, like basil but cursed? Leo groaned. I'm never inviting you two to brunch again. Azrath leaned in close and kissed Leo's cheek. Too late. You're stuck with us. Bonus scene. Bye-bye baby, now with extra hellfire. Setting a local baby boutique called Snugglebugs and Sprouts. Cast Leo, 6 weeks pregnant, glowing just a little, very overwhelmed. Azrath, Demon King, looks like a runway model, not emotionally prepared for stuffed giraffes. Earthly civilians, deeply confused. Gerald, the couch, left at home but texting updates somehow. It begins with panic. Leo stood in front of a wall of baby bottles, all claiming to be the most natural nipple on the market. I don't even have nipples for comparison, he whispered, panicked. Azrath, meanwhile, was staring down a pastel plush dragon with mild suspicion. It's smiling. That's unsettling. Why is it smiling? It knows something. A store employee approached. Hi there, shopping for a little one? Leo froze. Yes. No, technically yes. I'm gestating. Azrath chimed in proudly. He's carrying my infernal seed. The employee blinked. Okay, well, congratulations. Leo facepalmed. We'll just look around quietly now. The registry incident. Leo attempted to set up a baby registry. Azrath, unfortunately, got a hold of the scanner. 10 minutes later, their registry included a flame-proof bassinet, a lava-resistant teething ring, a stroller with built-in smoke cannons for dramatic entrances, Azrath said, and one enchanted crib that plays lullabies from the screaming souls of the damned. Leo snatched the scanner. We are not registering a crib that wails in Latin. Azrath pouted. The baby might like ambiance. The naming war, round 1. In the clothing section, Leo held up a onesie that read, Future Heartbreaker, like my dad. Azrath countered with one that said, Spawn of Darkness. Don't touch. Leo narrowed his eyes. We're not dressing the baby like a possessed road sign. Azrath smirked, says the man glowing like a divine disco ball. Leo turned to the mirror. Okay, yeah. His belly was pulsing with a faint blush pink shimmer. Great, I'm a gender reveal party now. One final disaster before checkout. As they walked toward the register, the floor began to rattle. Leo paused. Please tell me that's not you. Azrath glanced around. Not me. They both turned to see a rattle levitating gently off the shelf. And then another. And then an entire wall of teddy bears that turned their heads simultaneously toward Leo. Leo froze. The baby is testing its powers again. Azrath clapped proudly, already summoning chaos, just like their father. Leo hissed, Make the bears stop watching me. Azrath raised a hand. The bears flopped to the floor like fluffy corpses. The cashier quit on the spot. Back home, post-mayhem. Leo collapsed on Gerald, the couch, surrounded by bags of baby gear and mild PTSD. I'm never going into a baby store again. Azrath handed him a juice box and kissed his forehead. You were magnificent. Leo snorted. You scared a rattle into another dimension. Exactly. Leo smiled, leaning into him. Still, thank you for coming with me. Azrath looked down at him, tired, glowing, stubborn Leo, and whispered, There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Bonus moment. Welcome to parenting class. Please, no fireballs. Setting, a community center classroom with fluorescent lighting and terrified dads. Cast Leo, pregnant, glowing, trying to be normal. Azrath, a literal demon king, glamored into looking less horned but still way too powerful looking. Miss Rhonda, mid-60s instructor who's seen everything. Other nervous expectant parents. Breathe in, breathe out. Miss Rhonda clapped her hands. Okay, partners, let's begin with breathing techniques. Leo, seated on a yoga mat, tried not to groan. You literally don't need to breathe. Azrath, sitting behind him, wrapped his arms gently around Leo's midsection and whispered into his ear, But I love when you gasp. Leo blushed. Wrong kind of gasp. A woman across the room whispered, He's hot. Her husband whispered back, He glowed red when he walked in. That's not normal, Megan. The doll incident. Miss Rhonda passed around baby dolls for swaddling practice. Azrath held his by one leg. Why is its head squishy? It's a baby simulation, she said sweetly. Try rocking it. Azrath promptly conjured a cradle of molten shadow and rocked the doll telepathically while chanting an ancient tongue. Miss Rhonda took a deep breath. You know what? That counts. The meltdown. At the end of class, Leo sneezed, and all the ceiling lights flickered. Someone's doll caught fire. Azrath stood protectively, wings partially forming. No one touches him. Miss Rhonda, utterly unfazed, handed Leo a cup of tea. Sweetie, are you glowing because of a hormone shift or a summoning surge? Leo smiled tiredly. A bit of both. She nodded. My third was half-elf. Same thing. Later, that night, they barely made it home before Leo tackled Azrath onto the couch, laughter bubbling out of him. That was the most stressful thing I've ever survived, Leo said breathlessly. Azrath nuzzled his neck. You mean besides falling in love with me? Leo smirked. Shut up and kiss me. Steamy scene. Claim me again. Setting, their apartment candlelit, shadows dancing across the walls. Leo, flushed from laughter and pregnancy hormones, straddled Azrath on the couch. The air between them crackled with magic and desire. Azrath's hands gripped Leo's thighs. You're glowing again. Leo leaned down, lips grazing his. Then dim the lights and worship me anyway. Azrath growled. The kiss was slow but starving, as if neither of them could get close enough. Azrath's hands roamed Leo's body, memorizing every curve, every change. His touch was reverent, hungry, claiming. Leo whimpered into his mouth. More. Don't hold back this time. Azrath's eyes blazed. You sure? Leo reached between them, guiding him in with a confident roll of his hips. I'm carrying your kid. You think I'm fragile? Azrath snapped. He laid Leo down on the bed, summoned in a swirl of smoke, and kissed a path down his chest, murmuring ancient praise with every inch. Mine, my heart, my fire, my beloved. Leo gasped as Azrath moved inside him, slow at first, then deeper, harder, each thrust deliberate, each moan answered. The mattress creaked, their skin slick, the room pulsing with supernatural energy. Leo's hands clawed down Azrath's back. Don't stop. Azrath captured his lips again, biting, breathless, possessed by him. You are everything, Azrath groaned. You've undone me, Leo. Leo cried out as they both tipped over the edge, magic bursting around them in sparks of crimson light. And when the world settled, Azrath collapsed beside him, panting, flushed, in awe. Leo tucked himself against the demon's chest, still trembling, still glowing. I love you, he whispered. Azrath stilled. Then, I have waited thousands of years to hear those words said to me. Leo kissed him again. Well, get used to them. Chapter 8. Hellspawn or Heaven Sent? With flashback, the child I never held. The days that followed the parenting class and that night of passion were quiet. Too quiet. Leo had started to hum absent-mindedly. He glowed more now, soft pinks and lilacs pulsing beneath his skin like moonlight underwater. He laughed more, cried over cartoon commercials, and devoured pickles with chocolate like it was a gourmet combo. And Azrath? Azrath watched him. Not with the lust or playfulness from before, but with awe, reverence, terror. Flashback. 700 years ago. The child I never held. It was a memory Azrath hadn't touched in centuries. Before the wars, before he crowned himself with fire, back when he had been someone else, someone gentler. He had fallen in love with a mortal priest. Alien. A man of soft hands, deep laughter, and prayers that never feared the darkness. Azrath had hidden his identity. Alien had loved him anyway. And when Alien became pregnant, it had been a miracle. A secret one. One they guarded fiercely. Until the temple found out. They said the child was an abomination. They tore Alien away from him. Azrath had arrived too late. All he found was a cradle. Burned. Empty. Alien. Lifeless. The child, never born. And in the silence of that night, Azrath had turned from a lover to a king. He'd carved his crown from grief and vengeance, built his kingdom on screams, and swore he'd never love a mortal again. Back in the present, Azrath sat on the bed beside Leo, who was now curled under a blanket watching baby animal videos and crying because the ducklings couldn't climb the stairs. They're trying so hard, Leo sniffled. Azrath smiled faintly, then reached out, hand hovering over Leo's softly rounded belly. You okay? Leo asked gently, lowering the volume. Azrath swallowed. I dreamed of a child once, he said. A long time ago, one I never got to meet. Leo blinked, sitting up slowly. Azrath continued, his voice a rasp. I didn't get to protect them. I didn't get to hold them. And for centuries I thought, maybe that was my punishment. Leo took his hand and placed it firmly over his belly. You get to hold this one. You get to stay this time. Azrath looked down, feeling something flicker beneath his palm. A tiny spark. A soft pulse. Life. Hope. His vision blurred with tears. You keep saving me, he whispered. Leo smiled, still crying over ducklings. That's what partners do. Chapter 8, Part 2. Hellspawn or Heaven Sent? Subtitle: Pregnancy, Potions, and Portal Puke. Weird cravings and weirder side effects. It started with the pickles. Then came the gravel. Then a very specific craving for something called shimmer root, a crunchy, glowing herb from the 9th ring of flavor. Leo stood in front of the fridge at 2 a.m., eating rainbow-colored demonic minerals out of a glowing jar Azrath had summoned from the Underworld. You're chewing lava pebbles, Azrath said, concerned. I don't care, Leo grunted. It tastes like spicy Skittles and I'd die for it. Azrath nodded. Fair. That night, Leo's burp opened a small portal to another dimension. Oops, he said. A sentient tentacle popped through and offered him a flower before slinking back. Azrath closed the portal and muttered, They grow up so fast. The aura explosion. 3 days later, Leo's aura had gotten stronger. Stronger as in, the microwave turned itself on every time he walked past. Plants bowed when he entered the room. The toaster refused to toast anything but demon bread. And once, Gerald the couch levitated slightly and started chanting lullabies. Leo clutched his belly as it pulsed gently with golden pink light. I think the baby is casting spells in utero. Azrath nodded solemnly. A prodigy. I'm so proud. Azrath builds a nursery. It gets out of hand. Leo had simply asked for a soft color palette and maybe a mobile. Azrath delivered walls made of obsidian fused with enchanted dreamstone, curtains woven by ancient silk specters, a bassinet floating in a protective bubble of anti-hex light, and a mobile made from the captured hopes of stardust spirits. Leo stared at it all, blinking. This is supposed to be a nursery, not a Marvel villain's lair. Azrath, arms folded proudly. It's baby-proofed. Immune to fire, curses, celestial arrows, and taxes. Leo, did you just say taxes? Azrath, you never know. Baby hiccups. Cause problems. One evening, while Leo was relaxing and rubbing his belly, the baby hiccuped. The first hiccup? A puff of glitter. The second? A burst of minor light magic that set the lamp flickering. The third? A blast of chaotic energy that turned all the houseplants into sentient frogs. Gerald the couch screamed, in Latin, and Azrath nearly tripped over a talking fern named Kyle. Leo clutched his belly, crying with laughter. The baby is stronger than both of us, and it's not even born yet. Azrath, cradling a confused frog in his arms. We should name it Wrath Spawn. Leo, we're naming it anything but that. The moment before sleep. That night, they lay curled together in bed, the baby glowing gently between them like a soft nightlight. Azrath rested a hand on Leo's belly and whispered in ancient tongue, a lullaby from his homeland. Leo turned sleepily toward him. Was that a spell? Azrath kissed his forehead. Number A, blessing. Leo smiled, already drifting. And for a brief, perfect moment, there was no chaos, just quiet, warmth, connection, a family. Chapter 9. Diapers, Fireballs, and Domestic Disasters. Subtitle: Birth, Battle, and the Binding of Love. It began with fire. Leo woke up at 3:47 a.m. with a burning sensation in his spine. Not metaphorical, not poetic, literal fire. Azrath, he gasped, clutching the sheets. Azrath jolted awake, eyes immediately glowing. It's time. The room was bathed in light. Magic sparked from Leo's skin. The baby's aura pulsed like a beating star, and everything inside him felt ready. Or about to explode. Meanwhile, below. In the deepest pit of the Underrealm, something stirred. An ancient lawbreaker. A forgotten creation. Malzakar, the first abomination, born from a demon king and a mortal who dared love. Malzakar had been sealed away by Azrath's ancestors. Now he was awake. And he felt the energy of a new forbidden child blooming in the world. He would not allow it. Back in the mortal realm. The birth was nothing short of apocalyptic beauty. Leo hovered in the air, cradled by Azrath's magic. Symbols glowed around the room, a barrier of protection. Gerald the couch fainted 3 times. Beans the cat passed out chanting scripture. Sweat beaded on Leo's forehead as pain and power surged through his body. Azrath held his hands. I'm here, with you. Always. I swear to the gods, if you pass out like a sitcom dad, I will haunt you. Leo groaned. I will burn 1,000 suns before I leave your side. Romantic, but also push, push, push. The babies, are born. And then, silence. Followed by the softest cry. And then another. Azrath caught them. 2 tiny, glowing infants wrapped in firelight and light magic. One with Leo's sleepy expression and soft curls. One with Azrath's crimson eyes and a faint shimmer of shadow behind tiny, translucent wings. Leo sobbed. Are they? Azrath nodded, voice breaking. They're perfect. They held the twins together, skin to skin, heart to heart. But peace never lasts. The sky outside cracked. A rip tore through reality itself. Purple-black flames licked the clouds. Malzakar stepped through, horned and skeletal, with obsidian wings dripping rot and shadow. I was the first. I was cast aside. Now I will rip your spawn from existence. Azrath stepped in front of Leo and the babies, voice like thunder. You will not touch them. You broke the pact, Azrath. Love between a demon king and mortal was forbidden. You've cursed the realms. Leo stood, trembling but defiant, holding both children in his arms. Number, we've healed them. The final battle. The fight was brutal. Reality trembled. Azrath clashed with Malzakar in midair, their magic lighting the sky. Spells shattered stars. Wings tore through clouds. Leo, standing inside a glowing rune circle, chanted every protective incantation Azrath ever taught him. The baby's auras pulsed in sync, joining the chant. Pure, radiant magic poured out of them. The kind of love magic that heals history. Leo shouted, "Now!" Azrath hurled a final blast of combined infernal and human-born love magic, powered by his heart, Leo's faith, and the energy of their newborn children. Malzakar screamed, then dissolved into dust, purified by something he'd never known. Love. The aftermath. Azrath crashed into Leo's arms, bruised but alive. They collapsed onto the floor, the babies nestled between them, still glowing. Leo laughed through tears. "So, that was dramatic." Azrath kissed his forehead, whispering, "Love is always dramatic, but it always wins." Later that night, the apartment was quiet. Gerald cooed lullabies. Beans levitated gently above the crib in full babysitter mode. Azrath rocked one twin. Leo rocked the other. "You know," Leo murmured, "if anyone ever told me I'd have twins with a demon king after defeating a centuries-old abomination, I'd have said, sounds fake, but okay." Azrath chuckled. "You're mine, Leo. Against hell. Against fate. Against every law the Underworld ever wrote." Leo leaned his head on his shoulder. "I know. And I wouldn't change a thing." Bonus scene. The Diaper Chronicles, Azrath versus Baby Poop. Setting, the nursery. Cast, Leo, watching from a safe distance. Azrath, king of lust and destruction, currently armed with wipes. Baby number 1, giggling and plotting mischief. Gerald the couch, off-screen but making emotional noises. It began with confidence. "I have slain gods," Azrath declared, unrolling the changing mat. "I have conquered empires. I will not be defeated by a soiled mortal diaper." Leo handed him the baby, smirking. "You've never heard a diaper squish like this one." Azrath arched an eyebrow. "How bad can it rip?" Squish. Azrath froze. It blinked at me. Leo sipped his tea calmly. "Told you." The battle begins. Azrath, now shirtless for unknown reasons, wielded the wipes like daggers. He muttered incantations under his breath. The baby kicked gleefully and summoned a small flame. The diaper screamed, unclear if metaphorical or literal. "Hold still, tiny spawn," Azrath growled. "They're stronger than you," Leo called. "I know." After 10 minutes, 2 outfit changes, Azrath's, and a brief summoning of an infernal janitor spirit named Bob, the diaper was finally on. Crooked, inside out, but on. Azrath dropped to his knees. "I have never known true terror until this day." Leo walked over and kissed his forehead. "You did great, Papa Flame." Gerald the couch sobbed gently from the hallway. Bonus, their wedding. Holy vows and hellfire. Setting, a twilight ceremony on the edge of both worlds, a floating island between realms lit by stars and spellfire. Theme, love breaks the laws of heaven and hell and looks fabulous doing it. Aesthetic, gothic fairy tale meets celestial glam. Ceremony. Details. Leo's look, a fitted white suit with gold runes embroidered along the hem, and a small veil enchanted to float like a soft cloud. A crown of glowing vines, and maybe a subtle knife tucked in his boot. Azrath's look, crimson and obsidian robes tailored into something modern, elegant, and slightly scandalous. Horns polished, cape optional, weapon hidden under vows. Officiant, Miss Rhonda from parenting class, wearing armor just in case. Special moments. When Leo walks down the aisle, Azrath weeps openly. His wings tremble. His heart glows. The twins float in tiny enchanted bubbles as flower babies, trailing petals and bits of enchanted glitter that smell like new book pages and honey. At the speak now part, a celestial warden tries to object, but is tackled by Gerald the Couch, who has trained for this moment his whole sentient life. Their vows are spoken in 3 languages: English, Ancient Infernal, and the one that only their souls understand. After party vibes, fire dancers, floating desserts, Beans the cat wearing a tux, a spell-forged dance floor that responds to emotions. Azarath and Leo's first dance ignites the stars overhead. The cake? Hex-proof, flame-resistant, possibly alive. Delicious. Final touch. At the end of the night, they fly off, Leo cradled in Azrath's arms, babies tucked safely in magical slings, stars parting as they rise. Not kings, not mortals. Just 2 chaotic idiots in love. With a family. Chapter 10. Love isn't always holy, but it's ours. Subtitle: Teething with fireballs and the happiest kind of madness. 3 years later. Leo sat on the living room floor wearing a singed apron, a glittery crown, and a look of mild defeat. Azarath, he called out. Deadpan. Your daughter just teleported the cat. Again. Azarath peeked into the room, shirtless, hair messy, and holding a spatula. Where to this time? Leo pointed to the ceiling. Beans was clinging to the chandelier, eyes glowing faintly, chanting in demonic verse. Azarath sighed. At least she didn't open a hell portal this time. Their son waddled in, holding said hell portal in a sippy cup. Leo didn't blink. Never mind. Parenting demon style. Leo had adjusted. Sort of. Their daughter Nova had inherited Azarath's eyes, Leo's sarcasm, and the ability to float when throwing tantrums. Their son, Orion, had Leo's stubbornness, Azarath's flair for fire, and once roasted an entire diaper bag because it looked at him wrong. The twins were chaos incarnate, and Leo loved them so much it hurt. Domestic bliss. Kind of. There were magical food fights, enchanted lullabies sung by Azarath at bedtime, Leo trying to get 5 minutes alone in the shower without being ambushed by a toddler dragon plushie come to life. Still, every night, after baths and baby giggles, after lullabies and toddler spells, Leo and Azarath would collapse into bed, laughing, aching, in love. A quiet moment. Between chaos. One evening, Leo rested his head against Azarath's shoulder, watching the twins sleep, floating peacefully in their magical bassinets. Do you ever miss ruling hell? He whispered. Azarath kissed his temple. I do. Leo looked up. Azarath smiled. But I like ruling bedtime better. Leo snorted. You're so soft now. Azarath growled playfully, flipping Leo beneath him in a smooth, practiced motion. Want to test how soft I really am? Leo gasped, laughing. The babies are right there. Azarath nipped his ear. They're asleep. I checked twice. Fine. Leo breathed, arching up to meet him. But only if you finish folding laundry after. Azarath paused dramatically. You drive a hard bargain. They made love slowly that night. No fire, no desperation, just hands, kisses, lingering touches and breathless laughter. Leo's fingers in Azarath's hair. Azarath worshipping every inch of Leo's skin like it was sacred text. Because it was. They weren't just lovers. They were soul-bound, bonded by battle, bruised by life, healed by love. And when they collapsed in each other's arms, sweaty and smiling, Leo whispered, Still think I'm your greatest summoning mistake? Azarath pulled him closer, voice low and reverent. You are my greatest rebellion, my peace, my forever. Final scene. the family of fire and light. The next morning, Nova was levitating her cereal. Orion was trying to teach beans how to hiss in Latin. Gerald the couch had morphed into a rocking chair. And Leo? Leo kissed his husband, tousled the twins' hair, and smiled at his life. It wasn't holy. It wasn't normal. But it was theirs. And in a world that had tried to tear them apart, love conquered anyway. The end. Or just the beginning?